At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm doing everything I can. And stop calling me Shirley.
The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
All right, it's Sincerely Unqualified. Today, we got a TV show. We're doing movies mostly, but comedy TV shows, not just comedy movies.
Yeah, we got to throw it in there when it's needed. I mean, look, The 20th anniversary of this show was pretty recently, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's on Hulu.
Pretty, it's perspective. It's all perspective.
Everything.
Recent,
Just say it confidently. Give me one more confidently.
Look, I know you believed it, so that's all I got to do. Cool. It was generally 20 years ago. That's all I got to say.
That is very true. It was generally around there. Definitely around there.
Semi 20 years ago. More or less.
More or less. So we
Squiggly line 20 years. Let's dive into it.
Let's dive into it. We are going to be talking about the show Freaks and Geeks, as you know from the title. It is a fantastic show. Cult following after what was, it was canceled after a season. So if we're going to talk about it critically, probably not too great when it was made.
Yeah. I think there's a difference. I wouldn't even say it's not great when it was made. I think that there were just
critical response.
Okay. So the critics when it was made probably didn't like it that much. There's a lot of, we talk a lot about like critic perspective versus audience perspective. The audience perspective, I think when it came out was that it was great. It was just like scheduling issues and this and that with the networks. There was, look, at the time, I got to say, like sitcoms, there was Friends and there were Frasier on NBC too. And those were powerhouses.
Big powerhouses. We said that at the same time. That's nice.
I see that. We're on the same wavelength.
Same wavelength that we do like those shows for sure.
Yeah.
But if you tell me that Paul Feig and Judd Apatow, beginning of their careers, made this, put their heart and soul into it, made it as great as it is, and it can't go toe-to-toe with Friends, I'm not so sure. They're very different, and I think Friends, it's more attainable, it's more digestible to a lot of people.
Say what you feel, Kev.
I just think, Friends it's great. And it's because it's a casual watch. Everyone can kind of relate to Friends. I think everyone can relate to this show too, but it's so different that people don't really give it the chance.
Yeah, I think Friends is different in that it's kind of a unrealistic. I won't say unrealistic. Gonna be fully honest here. I've watched maybe like 12 minutes of an episode.
I forgot that you've never seen Friends. No, Friends is a very good show. Friends is a very good show.
I know everything about the show because my family was obsessed with it. Yeah. But I have never personally sat down and been like, it's a Friends day. Like, I've never sat down and been like,
to watch some Friends.
Wow, gotten back and been like, Friends is the shit. No, I've never done that. I don't know much about like the actual show. I think that this show, Freaks and Geeks, is a much darker, like not darker, but a much more real look. Yeah, it's
that's kind of what they did. Especially you have coming of age is a genre in itself. So what they did, Paul Feig and Judd Apatow, they looked at the coming of age stuff, the high school stuff, and were like, this is all about really good looking people, jocks. So let's make a show about the Freaks and the Geeks. And Paul Feig was the one that actually wrote it. It got given to Judd Apatow, but he fell in love with it immediately. So it was a fresh take. It's a good take on what kids are really like in high school. And right off the bat, so whenever a coming of age show comes along or something about high school and you get invested into it, like I just did this last week, you project yourself onto everything. And yeah. I'm going to be doing that a lot probably. And I'm going to tell you, this is what I think. In high school, I feel as if I was probably, if you had to put me in a group, like in these TV shows, they group everything up. And I think that the point of them, or at least the point that can be taken away, is that the groups don't actually exist when you're thinking about it from a personal standpoint. Well, I guess there are probably some people that are full one way or the other. Yeah. I in my opinion, in my brain, I was living between groups. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't really all the way on one side. I think if you would have probably put it, I was probably looked at as one of the jocks, but I was a backup offensive guard. I was probably more so on that side of things, but in my head I wasn't. So I'm just throwing that out there, just getting it out if for what I'm about to say through this next hour or so together, that is probably going to play into my views, my take on this show. Yeah.
I mean, similar perspective. Like, I didn't start any sports game. Like, I played my whole life, but I didn't start until my senior year. Like, I didn't start until I actually,
didn't even play senior year.
Got kind of fat. And they were like, wow, we could kind of use your weight. And I was like, that's
fat.
A good thing.
I like it.
Yeah. It's like I got a little bigger. And, before then it was hard because, being my size, I'm not going to throw it out there, but it's not ideal for the sporting world. So I could definitely see myself relating to like a lot of these stories in this, especially, the younger side when you're kind of coming into your own, like from Sam's perspective and Neil's and all of theirs. It's so interesting seeing it laid out in front of your eyes. And everybody has that, like, no matter who you are, there's a person in this show that you look at and you're like, that's happened. And it breaks the boundaries of like, okay, that happened in the 80s. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It still happens. There's still these fake groups. Yeah, exactly.
No, and absolutely. That's the thing. It doesn't matter. There are certain things. We were talking about it a little before. Like, this was in the Reagan era of everyone saying that the pot is the worst thing. So there are things like that are kind of funny that we could point out. But the overall message is absolutely timeless. And
look how far we've come from that perspective alone. Like, let's just talk about that for a second. There was the war on drug in the 80s where everybody's calling people like berserkers when they smoke, and it was kind of so frowned upon. And if you were a burnout and this and that, and now it's like you go in certain cities where you are. I mean, in California, you walk in, you're 21. It's like, hey, you want to buy an ounce today? It's on sale for $45.
The fact that they have sales probably would blow Reagan's mind.
I know. That's absurd to come from, it being this level 4, level 5 drug to now it being just, hey, you want to go pick up some?
Like when Bill Hader was originally in the test to decide if it was going to be legal, and then they yelled at him saying it was illegal. That's a throwback, people. That's or a callback. We're talking Pineapple Express here. Check out episode 4 or 5 or whatever it was.
What was really cool about this too is that, like, we can say that we related to these things, right?
Yes.
But, Feig actually, like, he said that the whole story of Sam is basically from things that happened to him. So it's pulling in from these real experiences. So it's like he had a bully. He was in love with a cheerleader. He asked somebody to homecoming dance on the day of the dance. And, it's all these things that he's pulling in from his personal life that they do such a great job of showing the awkwardness and like you don't know what you're doing at all on screen. And it just translates so well from him being like, this happened to me, writing it on paper and then executing.
Yeah. And I think that's something that you can just tell is the reason that there's so much heart in it is because it's so personal. There's so much of this that's from a personal standpoint, and then you go out and you find all of these kids that are perfect for the roles. And that's the thing. It's about high school, and it's about early in high school. So you're going to have very young kids. Obviously, actors are older than they generally portray, so that there was some age discrepancies there. But for the most part, very either early in acting careers or first in acting careers. And you couldn't get better. Like,
yeah. And nowadays it's like you see a show about high school and you're like, that guy's muscle tone. He's 24. He's been working out for 9 years.
They're better
There's
at it
no
now,
way he's 16.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good at it.
You see some like 28-year-old just like, no, I don't think so.
He's like, hey, we got to get to Mrs. Wheeler's class. It's like, dude, go sign up for a mortgage. What are you doing in this show?
Hey, man, shouldn't you be reading up on interest rates? They might raise soon.
Yeah, like, and that's so great is that they had characters like Sam and they had characters like Neil. I mean, these guys look the part so well. They're literally like, you're gonna believe that they're that age, no matter what you say. Like, you could tell me that somebody who played Sam or Neil was 17, and I'd be like, nah, I think they're freshmen.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's the thing. Sam was the only one in this show that played his age at 14. His friends were like Sam Levine, who played Neil, was. And actually, let's go through the key players quick, just so we're all on the same page.
Let's run through.
So we were talking about Paul Feig. We talked about him before, even though we called him Paul Feig because his last name is spelled Feig, which I default pronounce Feig. He directed Bridesmaids. But this was one of his first things. So he wrote it and he was really in on it, sold it to Judd Apatow. We've talked about him a lot. He's produced quite a few movies that we've already talked about. Let's assume
just a few
that you know him.
Yeah.
Then we go with the main cast here. So the main character is Linda Cardellini, who plays Lindsay Weir. And the show is basically about her. So I guess we could also, let's give the description. Sorry if we're bouncing all over, but the no spoiler description overall is just that the show follows a gifted high schooler, Lindsay Weir, who befriends a gang of slackers that they call freaks. And her younger brother, his name is Sam, has all these geek friends, well, 2 main geek friends, and it's just about them navigating high school in 1980. So it's, again, coming of age. You have the young people. So I mentioned Linda Cardellini as Lindsay, and then John Francis Daly as her brother Sam. Now let's get into some heavy hitters that you know nowadays.
Let's just say this too. Linda Cardellini is a heavy hitter in her own right. Like, she is absolutely. And I will say this: you see her throughout her career, and it doesn't look like she's aged a day since the show. No, I gotta just say,
she's one of those people that admittedly you can look at and you know that it's about a high school girl, but you can tell that she's a little older. So you're like, oh, okay, she's cute. You know, like, you're like, okay, she's probably like 24, and she was. So
it doesn't feel, you just start.
It's good there.
Just when you're watching, know that, the character's 16, but if you had thought that, she was actually 24.
Yeah, you're in the clear. Everyone looks at Linda Cardellini in this show and is like, wow, she's cute. Yeah. But then we have the freaks, who played by Daniel Desario, I'm just going to give you the names. Daniel Desario, Nick Andopoulos, and Ken Miller. So Daniel Desario is James Franco. Ken Miller is Seth Rogen. Nick Andopoulos is Jason Segel.
Yeah, a couple low-level actors,
B-listers.
Just some B-listers out there.
Maybe C.
Yeah, honestly, dropping on the list. Pretty hardcore.
Yeah. So and Busy Phillips is Kim Kelly.
Yep.
So she's also fantastic. You got to throw her in with the freaks. And then the juxtaposition here, we have the geeks. We have Neil Schreiber, Bill Haverchuk, and Sam, who we already mentioned.
Yeah.
So Bill Haverchuk is Martin Starr, and Neil Schreiber is Sam Levine. And
so if you were watching this and you were thinking, oh, where do I think I know Bill from? Because I know, like, just by the name, I didn't really recognize off the first, you recognize the people you, of course, know off the theme song. And you see, and they're going through, and you're like, oh, it's James Franco, Seth Rogen, Jason Segel, holy shit. And then you see Martin Starr. So that kind of was lost on me for a second. And he is Guilfoyle from Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Obviously, he looks incredibly different. And that's really, he's obviously in Spider-Man Far From Home, too. He's the teacher. He's in a ton of things. But if you slightly recognize him, he looks so different as a kid. And also the beard that he has now just kind of masks it.
Yeah,
but
he's a good looking guy now. Yeah, the beard, he's got the long hair. Like these Sam and they're actors. Generally, actors are good looking people, but they kind of grew up, and you can see them. It's funny looking back. You kind of feel like you almost grew up with them in a way, even though we did not. Because 1, it was 1 season. 2, it didn't come out when we were born.
Exactly,
we were very early on. The thing that I do want to talk about is the fact that these characters really just kind of like, they didn't get typecasted because every single person had such a robust acting career afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, every single person, I would say, has gone on to have at least a good level of success after this show. Like, there's every one of the main characters has done their fair share after this show in the acting world. And obviously there's the peak where we can get to the Linda Cardellini's and the Seth Rogens and the James Francos and the Jason Segels. Yeah. But then even just slightly one peg down, you have like Martin Starr and you have all these people just, you know, it's not like you're jumping from A-listers to C-listers to D-listers. You're jumping from A+ to A. I mean, it's...
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that I do want to call out is even like with acting, you know, a lot of these child actors that I feel like they can get kind of, you know, tuned in just on acting. But Sam actually ended up, John Francis Daly, who plays Sam, he ended up writing Spider-Man Homecoming, I believe. Like, so like a huge Marvel movie. Just ridiculous.
Which his co-star Martin Starr was in, which is awesome. There's these threads throughout that we see now. I mean, obviously probably the most well-known one is the James Franco Seth Rogen pair that we've seen again and again.
Yeah.
But there's all these interwoven, like, the cast knows each other and they all worked with each other so much throughout the years after the show. Even though it was one season, it seems like everybody had this love for this project and this bond that to this day carries over. And we saw that with the 20th anniversary. Like, everybody was posting about the profound impact that this had on their careers and like, thank you so much. This was my intro, blah, blah, blah. Can't believe it's been 20 years. Like, it's crazy to see where everyone's come from that day when they were so young.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is just funny looking back on it, especially because it is this weird thing that everyone seems to resoundingly like in a way. And it's just one season canceled. And it kind of got taken away. But
that might have been for the better, though. I gotta be honest. Like, as much as we would have wanted a season 2, and as much as it could have been great,
it could have
I
possibly...
think that the allure of this one season, one and done, like, we get these characters, we get these key players, we get everybody, and then they're in and out. You know, like, you get to the punch, you see them kind of evolve into where they're gonna go, and then you're left hanging. It just it takes it to another level where it doesn't drag itself out like so many other shows.
Yeah, and I also think, you know, I would never say that they would ruin it at all, but it is common for shows to have a really, really strong first season and then kind of taper off even a little. So I think that is important to point out. Something that I did say to the fitness instructor was that this show also, I think that we can kind of round out our non-spoiler section here and mention how this show is so focused and has so much great music in it. One of the characters is very into music. That's Jason Segel's character. All of them kind of are. But I literally said to her, I was like, I'm kind of happy that they didn't make a second season just because there's no way you could top the soundtrack and the songs in the first season. They are so incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, the soundtrack itself is worthy of awards because of what they did with it, how they used it, and how they wove it into the story. And a lot of times, a soundtrack can just be background noise, and you don't really pay too much attention to it. But in this series, every song had its part. Especially, I mean, we'll get towards the end, but every song had its meaning, and you gotta love it.
Yes.
Obviously, my setup today is a little bit reflective of that, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Let me move my mic here. So for those not watching and listening, head over to our YouTube in the description below. Watch us, you know, get to see us in the action. You get to see all my ridiculous hand movements that don't make any sense. When he has a Grateful Dead quilt that his dad's old shirts, is that right?
So it's 35 years worth of shirts from shows, from everything just compiled into a quilt.
Yeah.
So I mean, my family has so many Grateful Dead shirts. My dad's an insanely big Deadhead. So we had this surplus of shirts. So he's like, there's something cool. You can send in shirts. You can get a quilt made. So he had this quilt sent in, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's
great quilt. So that's not really a spoiler. The Grateful Dead is involved in some capacity.
Look,
so is Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Got my Pink Floyd shirt here. Probably bad audio,
Beautiful.
bad radio.
Yeah. Dead air.
But I think that we could probably go into the spoiler part. What we're going to do is walk through each episode pretty quickly. So we're not going to spend a lot of time. We're just going to kind of give our takes. This is all flick takes. We're also the first description is going to be the longest because it's the pilot. We thought that it was really important to set everything up, especially if you're kind of like, I'm going to just get spoiled throughout. So let's start out episode 1, the pilot, just named Pilot. So a group of high school students in 1980 faces various social struggles. Lindsay Weir rebels, begins hanging out with a crowd of burnouts courtesy of an invitation from Daniel Desario, which is James Franco's character. Her affiliation with this gang of freaks and her quitting the Mathletes worries her family and her friend Millie. Her depression started after he attempted to stop the teasing of a special education student goes terribly wrong and ends in him being injured. Meanwhile, freshman Sam Weir, who is her brother, struggles to find the courage not only to confront his and his friend's bully Alan, but also to ask cheerleader Cindy Sanders to the homecoming dance. So
that's it.
Very, very high school based. We have the kind of classic setups, but from a different perspective right away, and you can tell.
Yeah, it's clear that this is not your run-of-the-mill, like, we're in high school, let's, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm the captain of the basketball team. I have this dance coming up. I don't know who to take. This is a real version of, like, you're thrown into everything going wrong at the beginning. And you're seeing people who are not affiliated. I mean, Sam is affiliated, but you're seeing people who are somewhat lost. And that's what I think a lot of people feel in high school is that you're trying to find your way and you're not thrown into people who are established. You're thrown into people who are just like everybody else trying to find their way, which is they set you up perfectly. They're like, look, this is not going to be just what everyone imagines in Hollywood high school is.
Yeah.
This is a real deal.
Yeah, and they make it pretty clear right off the bat. They have this genius tracking shot that just kind of goes around, shows all these different groups of people. And you see, these are the goths, these are the jocks, and then it kind of goes down, and then really good song starts playing. I forget what the song is, but you get introduced to the freaks right away, and they're under the bleachers. So that sets the tone, and it kind of keeps going through, and you really get a good gauge. And I mean, my insight into this, my addition, just talking about the pilot, is probably, so I read the script actually before I watched the episode, and it was really interesting to see how they went through with the actual script, because what they did that I saw was they obviously needed to address why Lindsay is getting involved with the freaks. You're told she's a mathlete, and then all of a sudden she kind of wants to veer off. So there is a direct dialogue that says something about her grandmother dying in the script, but it's not in the episode actually. In the episode, she kind of freaks out at her parents, and her dad ends up saying something about her grandmother dying. And so you hear that and you're like, oh, wait, hang on. And then the episode goes through, and then Lindsay and Sam are kind of talking about that specifically. And you hear that Lindsay was there. She was the only person there with her when it happened. So you're like, all right, this adds up. That's a little intense.
This one, it's a great intro. You see where everything kind of starts. You're introduced to these great characters. You're introduced to the theme song of, just the intro sequence that you're so accustomed to by the last episode. Kind of gets you hyped up for the episode. Then we jump right into episode 2. Yep. So that setup was really great. We jump into episode 2, which is Beers and Weirs. So the family, Lindsay and Sam, their parents are Mr. and Mrs. Weir. They go out of town, and Lindsay throws a party for her new friends. She thinks it's going to be a little party for her new friends. They're like, oh, we're just going to invite a couple people. You know, James Franco is this guy. He's kind of elusive still at that point. You don't know what the deal is. He's like, I hope you don't mind. Like, I invited a few more people. And basically it turns into kind of a bigger party than expected. A few randoms show up. A few way older people show up.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam, Bill, and Neil, because they think drinking is so bad, they're these younger high schoolers. They go out and they buy fake beer instead. And the cashier at the liquor store is like, oh, man, that's awesome. And just gives them a keg of fake beer.
The funniest thing about this to me is that I wouldn't have thought of how funny that actually is if they didn't have the cashier saying that it's funny. Because you're kind of just like, oh, these dudes are such squares. I don't care how young you are. Like, let your sister's friends drink beer. But getting a fake keg is actually a really funny kind of like bit.
I gotta say, I was on that side too at the start. I was like, look, just relax.
Yeah, that's
like, where is this going?
Yeah.
And then you see the cashier who's like 26. He's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're like, kind of is hilarious just to see how the party progresses and everyone's like pretending they're drunk.
Yeah, and that is the funny thing too, is because, you know, high schoolers, they're going to pretend they're drunk. But at the same time, you're with the freaks and you know that they've drank, you know that they're kind of like to party. So they know. And there's even like someone says, oh, this beer sucks. Like you can tell they knew something's up. But like even Lindsay thinks she's drunk. Things turn out all right, though. And then, you know.
I love when Seth Rogen at the end, his character is just like, Sam, the little brother, is just like, oh, like the beer is fake, by the way. He goes, I know. It freaking sucks. He's just like, I know this is fake.
Yeah, but he said that he had a great time because he took so many people's money in quarters. He said he was like playing quarters and it was better than everyone else.
Meanwhile, Bill's in the room with the real keg, just getting drunk by himself, watching Dallas.
Yeah. Bill's getting drunk by himself. That's quite a way to get drunk for the first time, by yourself. Which
drinking out of a little like baseball helmet.
Yeah. So that you would get like Dippin' Dots in from the stadium.
Yeah, exactly. That was hilarious. Hilarious little toss in.
Yeah, that was great. And then we move on to episode 3 called Tricks and Treats, and really, the crux of this episode is that Sam, Bill, and Neil, the geeks, go trick-or-treating, even though they're probably a little too old, which we've kind of all been there probably. Comes a year that you're like, okay, are we really not going to go trick-or-treating again for the rest of our lives? I kind of like candy. Are we going to go? They do end up going, and unfortunately, Lindsay ends up accidentally egging him, like throwing an egg at him because she was with the freaks and she was like, oh, I guess we won't do anything for Halloween, whatever. And they were like, no, we're going to go like raise hell. We're going to go vandalize stuff, which I actually don't think in my town, that wasn't a big thing to do.
No, me either. We had a lot of shaving cream involved. I don't know if you did too. For me, it was like on Halloween, everybody would get to a certain point in the night, and there were these like streets where you could go around. It was either like a certain area. So it was a lot of streets that were kind of cut off for kids to just go. And at one point in the night, everyone would kind of gather at one area and just have a huge shaving cream fight. And just people
fun.
Would go back home just covered. Yeah. And I remember just one of my friends had a hose outside his house and everybody would just hose off with freezing cold water. I was
going to say, that has to be freezing. It's October in New York.
The worst. But it was so fun at the time just running around. And there were always the rumors that people were running around with Nair too. So it's just you're thinking in the back of your mind, like, who's got the Nair? What's going on with the Nair? There's never Nair. Nobody ever had Nair.
That would have been a messed up thing to do. Alan the bully would have done that. He's been in these 2 episodes. We just didn't really mention him.
My one thing about this episode is they call it out in the episode too. But Mrs. Weir makes cookies. And to me, I saw that happening and I was like, who the fuck makes things to hand out? But at the time, I guess up until that year, it wasn't weird to hand out like homemade goods.
Homemade goods are one thing. I do just think cookies on Halloween is weird. Like, you don't hand out cookies. Cookies are for, maybe dessert. But when you're talking holidays, cookies are Christmas. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
if you celebrate it, you know what I mean? Like it's wintertime. Wintertime is cookies, not Halloween.
But I'm not putting a cookie in my Halloween bag.
No,
with
that's
like
what I'm
other
saying.
candy, like a just open cookie.
It's ridiculous. It's just patently ridiculous. You
exactly
eat candy bars. If they're wrapped, great. If not, you're probably gonna have a good time afterwards. But you can't be putting cookies in the bag.
Look, props to Mrs. Weir. They look like delicious cookies.
Oh, she's a great woman.
Let's not hand out cookies.
Yeah, let's
not hand out cookies.
Let's cut
Let's
that.
avoid that. The next episode, often thought to be one of the lower ranking episodes, I will say, is
probably
Kim Kelly is my friend. So the only description for this one is that Lindsay gets a glimpse to Kim's home life, and it's kind of rough.
Yeah, that's the way I would put it, at least. I mean, so you see that, and it's definitely meant to make you feel super bad for Kim, which you should. Yeah. And her parents, Lindsay's parents, the Weirs, obviously don't take too well to her because Kim's kind of a lot. Kim's this really abrasive, not quite bully type, but just, you can tell she's very misguided. And it shows you why in this episode, which I think is good.
She's a wild spirit compared to the friends that I think the Weirs are used to seeing, where it's like Lindsay's friend Millie, who's just kind of this Bible reading, kind of mathlete, just never doing anything crazy, thinking everything is outlandish, then going to, and also the Weirs meet all of their new friends too. So they meet Jason Segel, they meet James Franco, they meet Seth Rogen, and then there's Jason Segel just coming in and asking for all of their fruit roll-ups every time.
I love it. I love it so much.
He just keeps grabbing more. He's like, hey, can I have these?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah.
Yeah, so Kim basically like barricades herself in the Weir's house, and then they try to, Jason Segel goes in so Daniel doesn't have to. They all end up going in, but Jason Segel's rolling around asking for candy, asking for fruit roll-ups. That characterizes him super well. This is a great characterization episode for sure.
Oh yeah.
And then we move on to episode 5, where Daniel, James Franco, is going to flunk a math test, and Lindsay happens to be super good at math. So she's like, hey, I'll help you out. And she kind of gets persuaded into helping him cheat, and they get caught just because the teacher knows it. Like, he doesn't really have good evidence, but he's just like, look, I know that you cheated. And it doesn't turn out too well for them. And the B plot, while that's happening, Sam, Bill, and Neil are learning about sex in health class, and Daniel ends up giving them a film, and it's whatever you would think of when you think of this subject with film. Yep.
It's an illicit film.
Not one of the movies we talk about. It would be really odd if we had a podcast about that.
Yep, X-rated.
So yeah, an X-rated movie. And something I did want to point out here is I think that there was a huge transition that we didn't realize. And this experience might be different for you. And I don't know how far we want to get into this. We won't get into it. All I will say is that my generation probably had a different experience than Sam, Bill, and Neil did, because if your parents had HBO or Cinemax, and Dad, I know you're listening, sorry. Once the second time that an episode stops playing at like midnight, something else comes on. But it's very late. It's like not aggressive at all. It's called softcore. So I feel like there's like a buffer.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Now kids nowadays, you just have the craziest stuff at your phone. Like you have someone probably like taking a shit on someone's chest, and they're like, oh, okay, this is pretty standard.
Yeah. One of my friend's dads would actually fall asleep watching TV, and we would come back to his house late. It would be like on HBO sometimes.
It's just
and it would just run over. Yeah. It would just spill over into that. He's asleep on the couch, and you would just look, and it's
sometimes it's on. It's just too. You don't see anything. You don't see anything you don't want to see.
Exactly. So there's a definitely, having to put in the reel, and they're doing the whole thing, I guess, because they're an AV club. They know what the deal is. They have the whole setup. They have the projector. Crazy. And then for us, it's just happenstance, and we walk in, it's like, oh, it's right there. Yeah. Cool. But this one, for me, stuck out a little bit. There were a few things that we saw in this episode. Number 1 was the guidance counselor who shines in the show.
Oh,
Gotta say,
love
he's
him.
awesome.
Love
Dave
him.
Allen.
Yep.
Dave Allen, he is amazing. And throughout, he's a constant character who you always know is going to produce either comedic gold or just be the absolute boy.
Yeah, he's going to provide some glue.
Yeah. Then you have Mr. Fredericks, which is the gym teacher who you learn more about later.
Yeah.
He's the one teaching health class. Nowadays, you have a health professional or you have somebody who's actually trained in that stuff. I don't know what the deal was. He was reading out of a book. I don't know if it was normal for the health teacher to be the gym teacher back then.
Wait,
they
hang
had
on.
poster boards.
Did they do that at your school?
No. I didn't have. I had like a health teacher and then I had gym teachers.
Oh, wait, yeah, our gym teachers were our health teachers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that was just me then.
No, who knows?
Yeah, but for me, the one thing that stuck out was like the poster boards of everything instead of it just being.
Yeah.
I mean, just seeing that, and then the smoking patio you see more in this one. That's what stuck out for me. Is just there being smoking patios at the schools.
Yeah, we had a patio. Obviously, it wasn't like a smoking patio, but yeah, I could see that back in the day being a smoking patio. That ages it really well in a good way.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Which, can you imagine like just being able to go outside? Not that we would have done this, but just being able to go outside and be like, "Oh, I'm a junior. I'm just gonna go light
Rip
up real
a
quick in
bogue."
between classes." Yeah, just rip some bogues. The next episode, if you're done with this one, we can move on to.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so episode 6 is I'm with the band. So this is when Nick realized that if he doesn't make a career out of being a drummer, his father is going to make him join the army because he can't keep a C+ average in school. That was the deal. You can't keep a C+, you got to go in the army. Lindsay tries to basically fix the situation by getting the band, who is also James Franco and Seth Rogen, to practice more, but this causes them to break up. Jason Segel goes to a band audition for a band that he's heard of. He saw play live. He completely shits the bed during the interview, goes up like, I have a 29-piece kit. They're like, oh, wow. They think he's going to be amazing. Shits the bed. And then he afterwards has this realization like, oh, shit, I'm not going to be a professional drummer probably. That's the episode 2 that Lindsay and Jason Segel kind of have their budding relationship. They kiss because he's so distraught afterwards.
Yeah, and then that whole thing ends up being a little weird from there on out, at least the next few episodes. But you feel so hard for Jason Segel here, man. Like it really sucks because he's the only one that seems like he has a direction, or at least he's the only one that believes he has direction in life. In this whole show, even the parents, I think they just kind of like do their own thing, whatever. Like Jason Segel is dead set he is going to be a drummer, and you can see he's pretty good, but he's only good at the songs that he knows. And also, I mean, Seth Rogen, obviously he was supposed to be bad, but in terms of that band, like James Franco wasn't that bad of a guitarist. Pretty bad, but the singing was just terrible. Just terrible.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't pick Seth Rogen to be the singer of my band. I gotta say. I mean, maybe go with somebody else. But this was a cool little episode where you saw the roots of. We've seen Jason Segel play some instruments in movies throughout his career a little bit.
He's very talented.
And just be a music guy. You know, and this is kind of where it started, where you see him just like rocking on the drums, being super into music. This could be where it started. I mean, in the movie we did, I Love You, Man, you see he's also like rocking on the guitar and everything. That was just a cool little bit to see like early in his career and then now the progression. Yeah,
this is very random, but there is a Christmas song that Jason Segel and Jack Black do. It's The Little Drummer Boy, and they have like a little bit in it. I think it was probably like a sketch or something. But Jason Segel's also really good at piano too. So him and music have always kind of been linked, and it's so interesting to see it even in the mix here. Like you mentioned I Love You, Man.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall too, where he's
obviously. That was almost a miss, but by me. But I would say that even in I Love You, Man, we mentioned it, like Rush. He's infatuated with drums in that. And sure, maybe they pulled it from Freaks and Geeks because they saw him in this drumming capacity or whatever. But it is so cool seeing those ties.
Well, too, the one thing that I learned a little bit about the series itself and like kind of Apatow throughout afterwards. So in Apatow's movies afterwards, he hires a lot of the same actors because he tries to make their characters almost like the people he makes in the new movies. They're almost a continuation of these characters. So it's cool to see that just throughout the Apatow universe of, you know, where the stem comes from, but also there's got to be, you know, these guys in the background saying like, hey, my character can do this. I feel like they have a lot more input with him now after being working together for so long.
And I think I mentioned this last episode, or I mentioned it during one of the episodes, but I have heard somewhere that Apatow kind of like jokingly said, with like, he's talking about the studio, talking about like the man, and they said, you know what, if you're gonna cancel this show, I'm gonna spite you and just make these people incredibly famous. Which it definitely did.
I mean, it worked. Whatever he did, it worked.
It did certainly work. But
yeah, we're
moving on here to episode 7 now, Carded and Discarded. This is when the Geeks get a transfer student. So this new girl comes in, she's very cute, and then they end up really like, they all fall for her. They all want to date her, and she ends up being a really cool girl. She becomes their friend, and at the same time, the Freaks and Lindsay are trying to get a fake ID. So
yeah,
that's pretty much the crux of this episode. This actually starts, we mentioned the guidance counselor before. Remind me the name, Winnie?
Dave Allen. That's his real name.
Right. So Dave Allen, incredible in this. And then it starts, and he's there. The Freaks are in the guidance counselor's office, and he's playing an Alice Cooper song, which I thought was really cool. They were like, wait, this guy knows Alice Cooper? Like, it made me, I liked that nod, as that with some people, the best way to get on their level is through music. And that's what I think this show is also, it's so rooted in, that like it adds another layer, basically.
I love that later too. We just find out, like, as they go through the episode, they get these fakes, which is a process.
It's a process and a half, man.
Are you kidding? This guy has fakes coming in from Canada, and he's like, let me memorize your faces. He goes, brown hair, brown eyes. Brown hair, brown eyes. Like, that was the process to get a fake. And they're like, these look nothing like us. Seth Rogen's like, I'm going to keep mine. I don't...
Yeah. Then they go and he's the only one that keeps his. And he walks up to the bouncer and he just says hola afterwards or something. He's like, it's Jesus.
I love that the bouncer, after they walk in, just goes, are we supposed to be letting them in? Like, those IDs are insane.
Yeah. He's like, are we really doing that bad business-wise?
Yeah.
Also, so we mentioned the transfer student. I wanted to ask you, did you have, I guess, specifically a girl transfer to your school when you were young? And, like, was it the like talk of the school?
Grade.
Third grade?
Yeah, it was third grade. And that was when kind of everybody tried to get to be friends with her a little bit. Which was
anyone into her, though? Was it like a love thing at first? Like,
let's be real, it was third grade, so it's not like anybody was jumping at the bit to be like, oh my god, will you go out with me? We were more like, that's a girl.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, like,
dude, I don't know, because fourth grade, I mean, maybe the people wanting to get like in a relationship with her or whatever. The only one I remember is someone came from when we were in fourth grade, and like everyone was trying to like date her, basically. I think fourth grade is when it started.
That's the spot. That's the sweet spot for like everybody come. I guess
it could be, because so like I had two good friends, and all three of us were into her, and I ended up.
So this is a personal story.
Oh, it is a personal story. Yeah. Again, projecting.
No. I was saying
here.
like. No, I'm saying like you were making it seem like, oh, the guys who were interested in her, and then you go, it was me.
Oh, it was me. Yes. It was absolutely me. Guess what? I ended up it was like we say relationship. This was like some fourth grade little thing. The funniest thing about this though is, so you look at the three people and they all want to like date her. There was a love triangle that ensued. I think that my two buddies dated her at the same time. Is that not the most elementary school thing you could ever hear?
Oh my god! How did you guys recover emotionally from that? Like when you found out, were you still friends?
Because it's fourth grade.
No.
They knowingly did it. They went into it knowing that there was a trio, like that there was a triangle.
Yeah.
It was a agreed upon thing. I was not in that.
That's just some Pennsylvania stuff right there,
Good
man.
old
You
PA.
were just, you guys. Okay, they were trying. So
You know
there
who
was,
you
like-
are, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. There was kind of that in the show where they were trying to woo her at the same time.
Yeah.
They take her out for all you can eat ribs. Love it. Our guy David, you can say the last name.
No, I want you to. What is it?
Koechner.
Oh my, dude, it's Koechner.
Koechner?
Yes.
David Koechner.
David, just say Koechner.
Koechner. David Koechner.
There
He
you
was
go.
an anchorman. He's been in everything. He was the waiter at the restaurant. Nice little sign. And then Dave Allen, the guidance counselor, was the singer of the band at the bar, and he calls everyone out. He's like,
Yes.
waitress, no. You can't serve them. Get them your finest pop.
Yeah, he's like, he says he's doing a shout out, and then you slowly realize that he's calling them all out.
Yeah.
Also,
And
I love
so
the fact.
Midwest.
Oh, yeah, very Midwest. But I just love the fact that you see that he's the lead singer at the end. He's the singer in a band. Then the Alice Cooper thing makes sense. But
And he was killing it, gotta say.
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Episode 8,
Yeah.
Girlfriends and Boyfriends. Okay. Sam tries his best to get Cindy to like him, and she ends up as Bill's science partner. Awkward, but also a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Well, I mean,
When you're
for Bill.
Well, I think for both of them, because it could be spun in both ways.
I almost think it's better for Sam. Well,
That's what I'm
kinda
saying,
works out.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's you're at a disservice being the partner.
Yeah.
But if you're the friend of the partner, then you can kind of just the friend can be like, oh, this guy, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, she kept offering him carrots and stuff and being super weird.
She liked carrots.
She likes carrots.
I like
And
carrots
then
too,
I
but I'm
think-
24
was-
years old, however old I am.
Was this when she farted and blamed it on the chair? And then he
Yes.
sits in the chair
Yeah,
and just
he
starts
started-
going like, he's like, this chair doesn't make noise.
Yeah, that was funny.
This was also the episode with the super awkward conversation about Mr. Weir and how he lost his virginity in Korea.
oh,
He goes, this is the worst $5 I've ever spent. He's like, your virginity is so special to Lindsay because she's
Yeah.
debating essentially to give it up to Jason Segel or not. And then he sets up the whole thing and then just wants to cuddle.
Yeah. He's just a huge stoner who wants to cuddle. Just a lovable
Exactly.
guy.
And then Sam gets sister zoned.
Your heart
Sister
goes
zoned.
out for him so hard. Not even friend zone, just in the sister
Yeah.
zone.
Dude, she asked him out too to go to whatever their local burger place was called, like Satchies or Saxby's or some shit.
Snackies, I think. I think it was that.
Snackies?
It-
Yeah.
Yes, Snackies.
Yeah. And then
See, that's
she's
what you
like,
got to do. I just said it confidently. I have no idea what it was called.
Yeah,
it was
who-
something like that,
who
though.
fucking knows? Exactly. And she was like, oh, I never eat this. Like, after he knows she's been offering carrots and shit, she's like, oh, I have to sneak out to eat this, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, Sam, I feel like I'm so good with you. And then she's like, oh, I can talk to you about anything. You're like my sister.
Sister. And then
Oh,
everyone's
no.
hearts just sink. But
I was like, go. I literally typed, like, I was like, go, Sam. And then she said, you're like my sister. I go, no, Sam. Like, oh, shit.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, your heart just breaks for him. And then, so obviously, Cindy is cheerleader. She's in the jock. She's infatuated with this guy who's didn't really seem to pay her much mind on the basketball team. He's a jock. So episode 9 is titled "We've Got
Yep.
Spirit," and Sam. Talk about that. Sam ends up becoming the team mascot. So the team mascot falls, hurts himself, and there's an opening. So he tries out for the mascot and actually ends up getting it. But he just obviously wants Cindy to like him. So he's trying to get in there while she is actually going after another guy. And the freaks end up getting in this rivalry with the rival high school. So this whole episode is supposed to be about like a rival high school basketball game kind of going through.
I will say,
Yeah.
this is the best I've seen people play basketball in a scripted television series. That is not
Okay.
based on sports.
Yeah.
That is like a comedy series. Usually they phone it in. And I may be thinking about specifically Zac Efron's performance in the majority of his basketball-centered movies so far.
Is it
Whether
just
it
High
was
School
17,
Musical?
17 again.
That was a fantastic movie, by the way.
Great movie.
That was a fantastic
Horrible
movie.
basketball shots.
I don't remember it at all. They couldn't get it
But-
right afterwards. I feel like Zac
No.
Efron. But was it a nod to High School Musical?
No. I don't know.
Right, let's get back into Freaks and Geeks.
They had it looked like people who were actually like, who could handle the ball and actually play. Like some of the shots, you were like, that's a genuine basketball shot. So shout out to them for getting that right.
Basketball shot.
That is a basketball shot. But I love this because there's one point when the Freaks kind of get back at the rival school and Kim tags the car and then starts yelling at them aggressively. And you feel for James Franco because she's like, there's 10 guys who are like, what the fuck, man? And then she's like, you're not going to defend me, Daniel?
Like, of course not.
There's 10 of them. Just run away. What do you mean?
Yeah.
In that moment, you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, this episode, probably more than any other, mimicked one of the older high school movies. You know, basically just because it was centered around, like, the sports game.
Yeah, the big game. It's always regionals, too. That's one thing. It's always regionals. Why is it regionals?
It couldn't be districts. Couldn't be districts.
Say states. Literally say states. Like, say you're going to states. That's awesome. Regionals, it's like, oh, wow.
States is a lot better, but you got to ground it a little more. Guys, to be a little more
always
reasonable.
Going to regionals. Like, always. I don't know how many times a year there's regionals, but a lot,
Twice.
Apparently. Episode 10.
Twice.
It's the diary. Twice. So in this one, the Geeks try to reclaim their gym class, and the Weir parents read some disheartening things that Lindsay said about them in their diary. So they were really just, the Geeks were found out about prank calls, and that they found Mr. Frederick's number, and they tried to prank call him. And the funniest fucking thing about this was that when they prank called him, it was so mean that he had the script of it and had every kid in his gym class read it to him the next day.
He's making him go in a lower voice because Bill was the one that made the call, because Bill was getting really upset because he was getting picked last in gym class. So it always came down to those three and then a bigger
Crisp.
guy. Yeah, Gordon Crisp, our guy. This really, really nice kid that we haven't mentioned yet, Gordon Crisp.
Yeah.
We'll mention him more after.
The boy.
They were getting really disheartened, and Bill actually said, like, hey, I want to be playing sports. I want to get better at sports. And so what they did was he made a prank call pretending to be Gordon's dad, and Gordon ended up getting, he was allowed to get picked earlier and was like, hey, you want to play shortstop? Basically, he figured out it was Bill, and Bill was able to then voice out his concerns to the coach and ended up being able to pick. So they were having their own gym class, and it was a lot of fun to watch that.
Yeah. And he makes the big catch at the end, and
it was like the Super Bowl was just won.
I love that they cut it where it was, he makes this great catch. You know, it was a good play, finally proves himself, but it's the first out. So they're like running up to each other and freaking out, and everyone's like, you assholes, what are you doing? That's one out. Like,
I think someone like tagged up too, but
they're like, tag up, and they're just, you know, all three of them are jumping up and down. Yeah. Also in this episode, which I thought was, you know, really just a shot at reality, like a real dose of just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Was the other plot when, you know, the reading of the diary because of the suggestion of Kim's mom.
Yeah.
And the Weirs read Lindsay's diary, and it's basically them just reading a roasting of their life.
It is a roasting, but it's not like it was anything attacking them, if that makes sense. Like, I think that's what's almost worse, is it's not like they're bad parents. It's not like they're bad people. But she points out something that, like, that's what makes it so hard, I feel like, to be a parent, honestly, is like that you can do everything right, but if you fall in this monotonous thing, maybe your kid's going to look at you a different way or whatever way, you're not going to win. It's basically the way I read that. And honestly, it was like, that hits close to home for anyone that's working a normal job, doing their thing. I mean, I read that. I was like, I don't even have kids, but damn.
Yeah, because I feel like it's like so easy to get lost in the day-to-day.
Yes, yeah.
Of just trying to hold it all together, especially when you have kids. Like, I have no fucking idea what raising kids is like, but I'm sure it's not easy.
No, it couldn't be.
Neither of us have kids. We don't know what we're talking about, but we were raised by parents, and I'm sure that they got lost a little bit in the day-to-day of trying to keep everything together. Like, it can get a little monotonous, and that's just a shot of reality where you realize, like, oh, shit, we got to switch something up, or, like, let's spice it up.
Yeah, and she does it by trying to get a microwave, and the guy was showing her that it could defrost the whole steak, which was just a he was just holding a giant slab of meat.
Wait.
And then,
was he saying
what?
Defrost?
I assume.
Or cook?
There's no way that he said cook. I assume.
I thought he meant cook.
No, I think he even said defrost.
Well, he said, look, completely frozen, 1 minute done. And I was like, look, if you're going to eat that, you're going to
No, I think he was talking defrost.
Okay.
I could pretty confidently say defrost.
Those were crazy microwaves, too. Those things were like computers in the 1960s. Like, it'll take up a full room in your house.
Yeah. You need a little more surface area than nowadays.
That took a whole team to install. Like, you buy that, you get 7-day installation.
For burly men.
Yeah, just installing it in the wall.
Yeah.
You ordered the microwave.
Something that we did glaze over, though, this is my fault. I do want to mention, though, we talked about, like, obviously things are very hyperbolized, at least for a lot of people. Some people probably had this experience more so than others. I probably had this experience less than others. But in terms of the picking order for gym classes and everything, so I mean, what I mean is I was never picked dead last, probably, but
you were tall.
Well, but that's what I mean. Like, even down the line, because it's this weird psychological thing where you're waiting to hear what this other person has to say, and it's like a thing of approval. Like, oh, who gets to go before me? That is so disheartening. Like, every single time, it's not you.
It sucks. I'll tell you, we had this thing called the kickball tournament when I was younger. Mm-hmm. It was the pinnacle of elementary school fucking sporting events.
Yeah.
Pinnacle.
Yeah.
It's like the kickball tournament, and that one fucking day you play capture the flag. Those were the 2 days in elementary school where you show you're fast and that you have leg strength. So I always like tried my best, but I would just pop the fucking ball up because my legs were 2 inches long. I would just pop it up. I would try so hard, and it's just
how that works? If you have short legs, you just pop up kickballs.
Every week during the kickball tournament, every other day, there was one person in the class who would set the batting order or like the lineup, and I fucking was in the last 5 every time, and it sucks until I made the list. Man. So I had this experience where I got to flip the script, and I put myself first, and you know what fucking happened? I got out.
Well, yeah, look, you gotta oppose dominance. You gotta put yourself at the 4 slot, so you say that you're batting power, and then
I did, and you know what happened? Same thing. Like, it doesn't change.
No, I know, but yeah, that really is something that I think was another shot at reality. Like, no matter, and again, if you were one of the people that was picked last, I'm sure that you have an even worse thought of it. All I'm saying is, like, literally even like down the line, every single time a name is called that's not yours, it's brutal.
Disheartening.
Yeah, it is absolutely disheartening.
It sucks.
Episode 11 though, looks and books. So this is the one where Lindsay is with the freaks in the beginning of the episode. I think it's even in the cold open, and gets in an accident when it's her with her parents' car, which is crazy. Just a crazy way to start the episode. So she kind of like tries to turn her life around, especially because her dad puts her on this permanent ban, or a permanent grounding. Yeah. So she rejoins the mathletes, and then at the same time, Sam tries to dress better. So we'll touch back up on Lindsay, but Sam wears a Parisian night suit, which is basically just like a light blue jumpsuit, like a light blue jumper. Yeah.
It's just a onesie, like a big blue
big old onesie.
And the selling point was, it's huge in Europe right now. And when I hear that, I think, don't wear that to school. Like, anything that's
even if it's gonna be big, it's not big here yet. Probably don't wear that, unless if you really want to wear it. But that he didn't really want to wear it. Some random old weirdo that sells fake IDs told him to.
Exactly. And look, I know that guy was probably just trying to get it off the shelf because nobody bought it, and he was selling it to this naive kid.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't be mean.
Come on.
It's just ruining his life. He ends up like, that's just horrible.
It's brutal. It is brutal.
Do not fall into the "it's huge in Europe" trap.
No.
If you're buying clothes here for school yet.
No. Do you have much else on this episode? Because the next episode, pretty big.
Yeah, just one thing. The accident, the lady pulling out of the driveway, would it not be her fault? The drivers on the road have right of way. That
is true.
She's got to be vigilant.
Yeah, she had no right
out.
to be mean is the thing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, granted, you get razzled. There's the most helpless feeling in the world is after you've been in an accident, especially I bet if you're just pulling out of your driveway. That's never happened to me, but wow, that has to be crazy. But yeah, don't be mean. You're pulling out of your driveway and not looking. That's kind of on you.
Absolutely. And look, if somebody's driving by, you know what you do? You're looking backwards and you stop. The person on the road, if there's no stop sign, you're not going to stop for this car. You're going to be like, oh, they see me, drive by, and then you pull out.
Yep. What are you going to do?
Angry. That made me angry that she was so upset. She's like, call the police. If I was the girl, I'd be like, no, I'm going to call the police. You need glasses.
Tell them how you feel, man. Tell them how you feel.
I just got really upset. I'm sorry.
Simmer back down. Let us know about episode 12.
Episode 12. The garage door.
Calming in peace.
So Sam sees Neil's dad hugging another woman and in turn finds out that Neil's dad is cheating on him. Meanwhile, Ken's crush is named Amy. She plays tuba in the marching band. The Freaks and Amy go to a local laser dome and they see a Pink Floyd laser light show, but kind of everything gets messed up throughout the episode.
It is not a Pink Floyd laser light show because
no, it is not.
Something that I realized throughout this episode is that there was the first mention that we got of Pink Floyd. I finally got the Pink Floyd mention, and then I got robbed of good old Pink Floyd, the laser light show. I went to a laser light show for Pink Floyd, and it was fantastic. And yeah, again, they were talking about the laser dome. You just play the music, and then there's nothing, like the band's not there. Doesn't matter. I wanted the Pink Floyd. I got robbed of the Pink Floyd, but that's okay. That's okay.
I mean,
you want to talk about angry? I'm angry.
I mean, look, there's the driveway and then there's no Pink Floyd. I think we're both equally as upset.
11 and 12. No, I actually, what I did really like about this though is because you know that Judd is you don't know this maybe, we always talk about Judd. I have this book. It's a collection of Judd interviews that I've read pretty recently. It's why I like him a lot. And he considers himself, and very rightfully so, one of the original comedy nerds. Like before being a comedy nerd was a thing, like we call ourselves that. But he was the pioneer basically. And you can see all these kind of like hints in there. So in the beginning of the episode, they're staying up late to watch SNL. And Neil's dad, it was a way to make you like him before you really dislike him. But seeing that SNL nod, it's like that, people staying up late to watch SNL, that Neil's dad's giving him soda to stay up. But then Neil's dad, piece of shit.
Bad guy.
Bad guy.
That was so cool, though, because you at first thought, like, oh, damn, like, Neil has the coolest dad of all time.
Yeah.
And then you find out, like, he's a piece of shit.
Piece of shit. Bad guy.
The one thing he did... The one thing I noticed, and I'm not going to say this dates the show because it's set in 1980. It's supposed to be in 1980. Like the weirdest thing for me was like when his dad was saying, "Oh, I'm just here to get Neil an Atari," and I was like, Atari was the peak of gaming for their childhood. Like Neil was basically, who wants to come over and play Asteroids later? And for us to think like growing up, we played these insane otherworldly games like Skyrim and all this stuff. And they were like, who wants to come play fucking Asteroids? Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah.
Big.
But that was just a crazy thing to me. Also love the SNL mentions, the constant Bill Murray little things that they toss in there.
Big Bill Murray shouts out too. Yeah, that's another
Steve
like
Martin
nod.
shout outs.
Steve Martin also, Steve Martin was one of Judd's favorite comedians. So it doesn't surprise me to see Steve Martin in this series a few times.
They love The Jerk. They love that movie, The Jerk, in this series.
They
gotta
do.
say.
They
and
do a
Stripes.
lot. Yeah. And Stripes. By the way, Sam McMurray, I obviously been in a few things, is Neil's dad. We were saying Neil's dad. The actor deserves the respect of saying his name, though.
Yeah, I think so. You got anything else on this episode?
No, I think we can move on. We'll go to episode 13, Chokin' and
All right.
Token. So this is the weed episode, everyone. The pot, as people call it in this show. She's going crazy
Millie.
on pot. So obviously, well, actually, we didn't really mention it. So Jason Segel throughout the show, really, he likes smoking weed. And the reason that he's unlikable at times is because when he's high. So that's when Lindsay doesn't really like him. Even when they're dating, she's like, I don't really want to be with him because he's just stoned all the time. And so Lindsay ends up smoking weed for the first time, and it happens to be alone, which is pretty wild. Just like
during
Bill
the day.
drinking. Yeah. Like she's just hanging out. I guess it's better than at night probably. But she smokes weed for the first time, and her dad's like, oh, you got to go babysit. What are you doing home? And she starts freaking out. So she gets Millie to help her babysit. And in the meantime, like not even a B plot, just the other plot with the Geeks, Bill is talking this whole episode about how he has a peanut allergy, and Alan, the bully, the original bully from the pilot, ends up putting a peanut in his sandwich and putting Bill basically into a coma, which is insane.
For thinking he's lying. I mean, number one,
what?
who the fuck lies about that?
That's a really
number
weird
two,
thing to lie about.
Don't put something in somebody's sandwich. And they're like,
You
oh,
think
what are
they're
you
lying?
going to do, Bill? You need us to call an ambulance? And he just goes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels so bad for him, but yeah, the crazy part, or not the crazy part, I think the funniest part of this episode is when Lindsay is babysitting high with Millie, and she thinks that the dog is like a metaphor for life, and she doesn't want to wake up. She doesn't want the dog to wake up, and Millie's like kind of helping her through what seems like a really intense like ayahuasca trip that someone's having like a bad like crazy existential crisis.
We could all be in this dog's dream, and if we wake him up, we're gonna disappear. And it's like, all right, well, let's not go too
Must have
cuckoo.
been some strong stuff.
Millie's like, wake up! Like, number one most reckless thing Millie's ever done. Because if it was in the dog's dream,
I think
they were fucked.
they would have been very fucked. Yeah, they would have died. But no, I actually think that's the best. This was the best moment in Millie's entire series for Millie. Like it's her being like, hey, like just cool it, I guess. Just relax.
Exactly. And then we had an easy one. I love that they didn't throw Hot for Teacher in this series at all, because it would have been such a layup in this episode, because we had Leslie Mann come in as Miss Foot, who also had allergies similar to Bill and was kind of sympathetic, came to visit him, everything like that. Was Bill's teacher crush throughout. When they brought up the allergies, that's where everything with Alan came up, and they were just like, oh, Bill, you allergic to this? And she's like, oh, don't make fun of his allergies, everybody. But yeah, that was a nice little toss in of Judd's wife, Leslie Mann. She was great in this episode. It was a nice, nice cameo.
Yeah, little cameo. So the next episode is pretty, well, it started out heavy. 14 dead dogs and gym teachers, as the name implies. Starts out with the dead dog, basically. So Kim and Lindsay are driving, and they hear this thud, and Kim's like, oh, maybe it was a squirrel. And Lindsay's like, I don't know. That seemed pretty big for a squirrel. We should go back. They don't. And then the next day, they figure out that Millie's dog died because they cross her in the principal's office crying. Just ridiculous. And then Nick ends up teaching himself to play guitar and writing. So a big part of this episode too is that they're going to go to a Who concert. So the Who's coming to their town, and everyone's getting super hype about it. So Nick is simultaneously learning to play guitar to write Lindsay a love ballad to get him back.
Oh God, yeah, that was Lady L.
Fantastic song. Fantastic song. But
beautiful.
The other thing going on too is that Bill's mom, who is single, she used to be a stripper and everything, like kind of a rough, you're led to believe that she kind of had a rough go of it with, the men, and Coach Fredericks ends up dating her, and Bill is just not with it. He's really struggling with it. Bill in this episode is very interesting to me, though, because there is, I believe, just a cutout scene, just quick. And it stood out to me like the most in the show. It's a scene where Bill's just like, he's kind of down, but then he sits down, makes himself a grilled cheese, and just starts laughing his ass off at someone on the screen who is actually Gary Shandling, which is Judd's like mentor. He considers himself a mentor. Judd ended up writing on the Larry Sanders Show and directed an episode, and it's because Gary Shandling gave him a shot, basically. So he put Gary Shandling in this thing, and it was just like this really heartwarming, I guess, nod, because it's just this. I don't know if you remember, like, I don't know if it stuck out to you, but it's just this random thing. You're like, why was that in there? But it's in there because it's like a celebration of Gary Shandling, basically.
Exactly. That was awesome. And I think that was actually a scene where afterwards it was found out like that it wasn't actually Gary Shandling on the screen during that scene that he was watching.
Yeah.
It was Judd and a couple other people behind the camera just saying the most absurd things
and he's
to
just
get Martin Starr to die laughing.
Yeah. They're all freaking out. Or they're all making him freak out laughing. And the thing, though, is that they wrote that in. And so Judd wrote that one in. That just this little scene. And it stuck out to other people, too. And this is like kind of a little Inexclusive Exclusives in the middle here.
Yeah.
But it's just important to note because this basically is what Judd considers a turning point for him. This scene alone, because someone watched it, a higher up. I'm blanking on the name, but they were like, this scene is the best one that it really is like, it stands out over every single scene in this entire show, and because it's personal. Because Judd said that he used to do that. He was kind of down sometimes, but then he would just go watch some shows and he would be fine. And that he said it was so personal that it like a light went off when someone was like, "Oh, that's a fantastic scene." He thought it was kind of like a throwaway.
Yeah. No, that it's such a showing moment where it's like, the childhood love for these things and the things you grow up on. They hold such meaning to you, especially when you're alone and just like enjoying these things.
Yeah.
These are the things that can make your childhood special or, coming of age special. It's these little things where you find so much joy. Even if your day was shitty or anything like that, you go home, you throw on some comedy, you're just dying.
Yeah, you said the little things, which is interesting because he said that's another thing is that he realized in that moment, or he realized from what that person said, that even the boring things, he was like, I don't consider myself that interesting, so he quit stand-up. But he said the boring things are what people cling on to the most. And here we are talking about this scene that was like, there was no dialogue, there was nothing, it was very short, but it was just such a cool scene. And we had some craziness at the other parts of the episode, though. I don't know if you want to mention anything about like the actual plot.
Yeah, I will, but it's just like the last thing about that is it's the mundane stuff that makes everything so special. It's the stuff that's never highlighted on TV that everyone relates to.
Yes.
That you love to see it. You're like, people actually do that like I do. You're not weird for doing that because it's not on TV. It's not on TV because people don't think it's interesting.
Right.
But when you show it in a great way, it's fucking awesome.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Few things for me about this episode, which were great, was number one, the transition of Millie as she kind of goes through this grief of she's going downhill. She starts hanging out with Kim, which, in the show, it's highlighted as Kim being this bad person, but Kim's also kind of using her, blah, blah, blah. She goes and she's like, I'm going to bring my big coat shopping. Like Kim says, bring the one with all the pockets. And you know what that means.
Yeah.
But
poor Millie.
I know. And then she goes and finally goes to hang out with them. She's going to the Who concert, defies her mom, yells at her mom. And then right as she's about to have her first sip of beer, Kim kind of switches. She flips the switch and feels bad. And she just goes, Millie, I killed your dog.
Yeah.
After going to the funeral, after going through all this grief, hanging out with her, just kind of saves Millie from going through this whole transition just because she's upset.
Yes.
Which was a real moment for both of them, I feel like.
Yes. I mean, obviously it would have changed Millie's character completely, and you kind of liked seeing her on the other side. You kind of liked the fact that she even almost went there fully, but she went there for the most part. And then Kim, absolutely, you are right, dude. That alone made her such a better character.
Oh,
like just
and
that word, or I guess that sentence.
So good.
And a crazy sentence to say, too.
Hey, I killed your dog. Last thing about the dog for me is that it was fucking massive in the photo that she showed, and they definitely should have known that it was not a squirrel. Like,
dude, it had to put a huge. That's why I think it's a kind of a funny bit that like you're expecting this small little dog the whole time that you're like, especially because it was called Goliath, I think. Yeah, Goliath.
Yeah, Goliath.
So you're like, oh, it obviously was like a play on that, a little chihuahua maybe, and then you see this picture of this massive dog, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, now I get it.
Oh, yep. And then we had, thank God for Seth Rogen destroying the guitar from hearing Lady L. Lady L walked so that the Dracula song could run. I'll just say that.
There you go. That's so true. Dude, the smashing of the guitar is that was hilarious, because that was also, you do things for your friends when you know you need to.
Yeah. Oh, and that was so needed. Even Lindsay was like, thank you.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else to throw in about episode 14? Great episode, gotta say.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I think we can go on to 15. We're nearing the end
15,
here.
15, Noshing and Moshing. Noshing and Moshing is when Daniel and Kim... Noshing, Moshing. Daniel and Kim break up, and he tries to win over this punk girl who works at the liquor store, and she's got this crazy hair. It's all like gelled up and white and all this stuff.
Yeah.
At the same time, Neil, going through some grief and finding out this thing about his dad, takes up ventriloquism as kind of a crutch, and his brother, who's David Krumholtz, comes back from college. We got a Krumholtz sighting. Comes back from college, ends up kissing Lindsay, who is also Neil's crush.
Krumholtz!
And then Neil Krumholtz.
SUCU, baby.
Throwback to This Is the End, when we lost Krumholtz.
We lost Krumholtz.
Yeah, that was great. But Neil then tells his mom that his dad's cheating, and she's kind of chill with it. She's like, we're figuring it out. And it's like, oh, damn, this is deeper than I expected. First thing to say about this episode, Kev, if you want to take it, I think we've mentioned it.
Krumholtz!
That's it.
I figured we needed to get one more in.
Yep, no, we needed it. But
the thing that I like, actually, you can go. Sorry, you were going to say something.
No, go for it.
So we were talking about the punk club. So obviously that's a big thing. Daniel can't break up. He sees this punk girl for whatever reason, ends up really liking her, goes for it. He has his own thing going on. But you see, I feel like Seth Rogen didn't get too characterized throughout this whole thing. He played this really weird character that I didn't think had much depth. He just was what he was. And then this is the start of like a few episodes of pure characterization for him. So they're all at this punk club, and James Franco's doing his thing, like whatever, trying to win this girl. And then at the end, you just see him freaking out, like moshing with everyone. I loved that, especially because when I finished the episode, or when I finished the series, I saw it as a launching point for him, basically.
Absolutely. That was because there was a few episodes where he didn't even show up. Yeah. Like, he was kind of a secondary main character for a little bit.
No, I'd agree.
And then he started to take the center of attention a little bit towards the end. But in this one, we see like James Franco's character is going a little bit crazy after the breakup. Like he looks like, Jason Segel says he looks like a Q-tip. He's like, oh, can I use it to clean my ears later?
Funny.
He has his hair all white and spiked up and everything. Pierces his nose
with a
at this punk club. Yeah. And they mess it up, and they're like, oh, you poser, get out of here. He gets knocked in the back of the head. Is bleeding from the back of his head.
Yeah, we get pretty intense.
Like, we get a glimpse into his home life. So we kind of see where the breaking point comes from a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah. Tough problems with his mom. Just to try to take care of his grandfather, I think it was. And he's like, I'm supposed to go to school. You're supposed to take care of him. That's what's going on right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what do you want me to do? Quit school and go make $250 an hour? And his mom's like, honestly, you know what I want to say to that.
Yeah.
So you know where he's at. And then to have that breakup on top of it, he just had a little bit of a break.
Yeah. And then I guess that's why he ended up wanting this other girl. So yeah, I think the dive off the end is warranted, and then he ends up, and that's the thing with that relationship with him and Kim. At the end, you see them hugging, and she's crying a little, and you realize, like, as toxic as their relationship is, it's kind of like what they need.
Yeah, they complete each other in a weird way.
Yeah. So you see that at the end, and I think that kind of like wraps up the episode really well. And you're kind of like, okay, like let's let them be together, because honestly, in the you had no connection to them. I honestly probably just wanted them not to be together more than anything. But
I mean, on the other side of the coin, you have Neil going a little bit crazy with this fucking doll. Like,
yes, nuts.
I will say, that party where there's the build up the whole time to Mr. Weird needing to get fucked up, and he does, and he's like laughing at the most. Neil's taking this all out on his dad.
Yes.
They go on this goose hunt for the garage clicker. He's like, oh, if it was your dad, blah, 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 go all day. Then he goes off at the party about, like, I guess his dad being like a rapey dentist from the ventriloquist.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like weird dentist humor, but I started laughing because I was thinking about Mr. Weir getting loaded at the party.
Dying. And he was he's the only one. He goes, I love his delivery too. He just goes, where's that kid? I need more of those jokes. He's like, that kid was the funniest thing I've seen.
Yeah.
Just gets loaded.
He's loving it. Just, dude's loaded.
He's the one who didn't want to go either, and is just having the best time.
He's having the best time out of everyone.
Oh, yeah.
But then episode 16, Smooching and Mooching. So Sam, we finally get another big Sam episode. He learns that Cindy breaks up with her boyfriend and that she likes him, so he asks her out. We're hyped for Sam. We're all going crazy, and then we learn that it's a makeout party, and Sam is scared shitless. So,
oh, yeah. I mean, this episode was awesome for these guys, for the geeks.
Yep.
And I will say, other than Neil, I mean,
Neil's still not in a good spot.
Neil had to kiss somebody's hand. I mean, I feel bad, but also, like, come on.
Bill got to make out with
Bill.
them.
Oh,
I don't like
personality is key. Personality is all you need when you're locked in a closet with somebody, I guess, for Bill. He wooed her.
Well, he didn't really woo her. He just told her off, which is exactly what she needed, and it's exactly what all of us needed, too. He was just like, why would you, like, I don't want to make out with you. Like, get over yourself. And then she was like, I like you.
He's like, I'm not hoping for anything here.
Yeah.
It's like, you only have 3 minutes and 26 seconds left in hell. It's so good. But the one thing I will say is that something that Seth Rogen said, and it's it's the first time we see deadheads in the show.
Yes.
It's the first time we see a real deadhead.
First mention of Grateful Dead.
Yeah. And it's like, the girl walks over, says, hey, can I take this chair? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. And then he goes, Grateful Dead. Music sucks. Chicks are hot. And I was like, the fuck, Seth? Don't do that.
Well, it's okay
his
for
character,
him. I was
know.
going to say, it's okay for his character to not like the Grateful Dead. I don't really well, actually, I do like The Who and stuff. But, so with the Freaks, the other thing that goes on is that Nick, so Jason Segel, his dad sells his drums, and like we said, it was the only person with any drive. And then his dad obviously had his thing going on with the army. He ends up selling his drums. Nick gets really upset and then crashes at the Weirs, and that was I thought that was pretty good.
That was great. He has the better relationship with Mr. Weir than his own dad. Mr. Weir shows him, like, jazz band, and shows him like the real drums that he grew up with, and gets him lessons and all that.
Yeah, that was the relationship that we needed.
I know, that was awesome. even when Jason Segel's wearing a thong just to sleep on their couch.
What an odd thing to wear when you're sleeping on someone's couch.
he goes, knocks on Lindsay's door. Hey, don't open the door. Like, just in a zebra thong. Like, hey, maybe let's not do that at her house.
Yeah,
but
like let's definitely try not to.
That was awesome at the same time to see him have a fatherly relationship with somebody who's not saying like C+ or Army, but also, you know, it was a little bit overstepping when we found out earlier in the series he was semi like stalked his exes and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, also I thought what was really good about that is that you didn't actually know like who to believe. You knew something probably sketchy happened. There's probably some truth in the middle there, and who knows, basically. I like to think the best out of my good boy Jason Segel, but
exactly
could have been bad. Dude, I just couldn't love that relationship anymore, because honestly it was good for Mr. Weir too. Mr. Weir is like a square kind of guy, you know, very classic, very traditional, and then we get him breaking out of his cage basically.
So he's awesome. So you see him dancing, doing his thing, you know, you're like, oh, he's not this hard ass, you know, whatever. He's actually really cool.
He's certainly, he absolutely is.
You want to?
Yeah. Let's go to 17. The little things.
17.
Yeah. So Ken's girlfriend reveals to him. So Ken, well, obviously Seth Rogen, he gets this girlfriend, and it came from friendship with Lindsay. His girlfriend is a tuba player, and they're going out. They're really enjoying it. You finally get Seth Rogen to kind of like break out of his shell. He's really enjoying this relationship, but something pretty heavy hits him when she tells him that she was born with both male and female genitalia. So obviously he kind of gets like a little, you know, it just takes time to process, if anything. So keep in mind that this was made in the 90s. You know, it probably would have been filmed a little differently now. But I thought it was really interesting for them to tackle that, because that you have Seth Rogen just going around this whole episode questioning if he's gay or not, like what it actually means. So there's a whole thing that ensues around that, and that's the main part of the freaks part of the episode is really Seth Rogen just really trying to figure out how to feel, what's okay to feel, I think. And he enlists the help of the guidance counselor, which is a really funny scene. But he ends up being okay with it and really accepting it, and realize that he loves his girlfriend. He tells his buddies. There's a scene where they are like all laying on the ground or the couch, and he musters up the courage to say that he loves her. And I know that's a huge thing in high school. When you're a little older in high school, that you feel like you love someone, to tell your friends is big.
It's a big step.
That's a big step for sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's going on the other side with the geeks is that Sam is, you know, finally dating Cindy. He's supposed to be having the time of his life, and he ends up really not liking it because he realizes she's like rude, she's shallow, she really isn't like a great person to be around. Yeah, not great. Not great.
Sucks.
There's a third thing. This is, you know, the penultimate episode, so there's a lot going on here. George Bush is in town to ask a question. So
Yes,
George, as Cindy says, George Herbert Walker Bush. So he's the vice president. He's in town. They're all going to ask him questions. And our guidance counselor, our boy, ends up picking Lindsay to ask the first question because he thinks he's doing her a solid. And he's a hippie, so he used to do some
protesting.
Yeah, he used to protest back at Berkeley, and he's going to, or Lindsay submits these questions, and then they reject them, and she's supposed to ask this complete softball that they assigned to her. So the guidance counselor ends up getting not allowed in, and Lindsay sees that, so she asks H.W. Bush why they wouldn't take any of her questions, and just straight up calls him out.
For that salt. And then I love the little like subplot to that where her dad's like, make sure you call out A1 Sports on 16th Mile Ave. I just love that.
That is absolutely hilarious. And I think that is something that's super funny. So, I mean, my parents don't own a business. I know people whose parents do own a business. And that is something in high school that, like, if your parents own a business, sometimes you are, depending on, you know, it's like, say it's a restaurant or something, and you eat there, you know that this person's parents own it. You kind of get, like, attached to that. So I could see Lindsay absolutely not wanting to be attached to that. And it sounds ridiculous for her to be like, you know, to be basically an ad while she's supposed to be
literally
asking questions to the vice president.
To the vice president of the United States.
And so it's such a funny concept for him to ask, but then you really think about it. You're like, you know what? That would really help her dad out. So like it makes sense for him to ask, basically.
Especially when you're a pillar of the community, like it seems like that sports store was. I mean, there's the instance where she's like hitchhiking, and then the guy picks him up and is like, I shop at your dad's store for bait, like I'm taking you home, and I'm telling him.
Yeah.
Like when you're an integral part of the community like that and you toss it out, it's part. So she debated, but she rocked the shirt. I love that she rocked the shirt. She even moves her hair when she's asking the question.
Yeah.
That was so good. So there was Ben Stiller as a Secret Service agent. If you didn't notice immediately when he came on, you certainly noticed when he was taking the job test with the guidance counselor, because he's like, sometimes he's complaining about, he's like, sometimes you stare at a wall for 12 hours and you start seeing things. And then he's like, you know why the vice president's never gotten assassinated? Because no one cares. He's like, it's never going to happen. I feel like I'm wasting away. So he takes a job test to see what he's best suited for. That cameo by Ben Stiller, there was actually a reason for it. It was a promise that Ben Stiller made to Judd Apatow just because they were friends. He was trying to, you know, bring in the cameos so that in hopes that the show would not get canceled. But unfortunately, when this episode had aired, they already knew that the series was going to be canceled. So it didn't do its job. But good guy Stiller.
Little too late. But Judd Apatow produced the Ben Stiller show, which was, I believe, a variety show or a sketch show. But he had basically a favor to call in. And we got a Ben Stiller cameo as one of the Secret Service members.
Yeah, which was amazing.
But yeah, a lot happened with that episode. The really interesting thing with Seth Rogen's character, just, you know, Ken trying to figure out what's going on there, how he's supposed to feel. And I think that stuff kind of rings true really today, which I thought that was interesting. Even it's set 10 years before it's written, or 10 or 15 or whatever it was. And you still have things like that are, you know, that still ring true. A very interesting piece of writing, I think, that this episode was.
Absolutely. And I love the Steve Martin interjections a little bit that they toss in.
Best line from this
episode is the guidance counselor saying, I've got the best job in the world, $12,000 a year, and I'm overpaid.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Let's jump to the finale.
Discos and Dragons. Let us know about it, baby.
Discos and Dragons, baby. It was, so Lindsay finds out that Nick's been dating a girl named Sarah, who's been teaching him disco moves for a competition. Turns out Sarah's had a crush on Nick since about 6th grade. She's always sat behind him, but this guy is too tall for her to see, but she sits behind him anyway. Daniel is forced to join the AV club after he tries pulling the fire alarm. The guidance counselor walks around the corner, goes, I hope there's a fire. And then there's not. So he's kind of punished by going to the AV club, which is where the geeks all hang out. They actually had Monty Python that day. They were reeling up. They were having a good time. And then Daniel walks in. That was kind of a shock. He later ends up playing Dungeons and Dragons with them, and he loves it. So that was a great characterization for him. Lindsay is invited to this academic summit at the University of Michigan over the summer because of her academic performance. She's like the top 1% in Michigan.
Yeah.
She kind of is teetering back and forth on whether she actually wants to go, because the guidance counselor gave her American Beauty and said, the deadheads at the school said, listen to it all the way through. Listen to it all the way through. She was stressed
at the guidance counselor. So American Beauty, Grateful Dead. Yep. That's why when he's got his stuff going on, that is also, I mean, I don't know the Dead well enough to go album by album, but the album that I absolutely know I love the most is American Beauty. It's like I feel like, is that like the staple? Can we say that?
Yeah,
it's
I'd
the
say
staple
that's
album at least.
It's the most, I'd say, well known.
Yeah,
by far.
Yeah,
and it's probably got the most hits on it. I'd say.
It's just ridiculous.
The most well known.
It looks like it honestly looks like it's a greatest hits album.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he gives her American Beauty to de-stress. I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And listens to it all the way through. And one thing I will notice, and my dad, who's been following them, like, is a huge fan, even called it out. He's like, you're going to notice something when you watch. I want to talk to you after. So I talked to him after. She starts doing this dance when she's listening to the whole album through. She's dancing and then starts spinning like that. That is a dance that people do at the concerts to this day.
That's because they're
spinners.
High as a kite.
They're spinners. And I love that they threw that in because they do that in real life. You know how many times I've seen that? You look everywhere at a concert and there's people doing that dance. And I love that they threw that real detail in there that she didn't even know and she was doing it.
Yeah. It's like wired in her. Like she knows.
Yeah.
She was born to be.
She's
a deadhead.
made for this. Yeah.
She really was. Like, did we talk about the ending? How it closes out?
Oh, okay. So we'll get into that now. So finally, she decides. So she gets on a bus to Ann Arbor. Her mom thinks she's going to this camp. Her dad thinks she's going to this camp. They say goodbye. We say goodbye to the Weirs. Goodbye, Weirs. We love you. They were awesome. She says goodbye to Sam. She cries when she's saying goodbye to her mom. They get to Ann Arbor. She gets off the bus. Kim is there. The two deadheads are there. They have the van. They have the classic VW van with the dead all over it. They have the stickers. They have the painting. They go on tour. They're following the dead instead of her going to that. It ends with Ripple. Closes us out. Perfect song. Fucking that's the soundtrack we love.
Yes. So that's another thing. Out of all Grateful Dead, American Beauty is my favorite album. Ripple is my favorite song. Ripple is one of my favorite songs of all time, not just of all Dead songs. But when that started playing, I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. The show is incredible. Like, the show is incredible because I loved how it ended too. I was talking to you before. I think that it makes so much sense for Lindsay to end up being a deadhead. She's smart, but she's a little, she doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life. She's a little misguided. Like, she still is this intelligent person. She still has so many thoughts, so many like ambitions. She just doesn't know kind of like how she wants to be. So it makes so much sense for her in this era to end up as a Grateful Dead fan.
It's a rite of passage in that time to go travel with the dead.
Yes.
And it's for everyone. It's for anyone. And she chose to do it, which was awesome. Yeah. That was the perfect way for her to end. And she's going to get so much more from that than that stupid leadership summit.
Well, also, like, dude, she was in the 1% anyways. Like, why would you need to go?
Yeah.
I get,
you're
like,
fine.
They were talking about, like, networking and stuff. It doesn't matter. You're in the 1%. You're chilling.
She's
like
16. She's fine.
Yeah, she's going to be all right. You might as well just go tour with the dead. Yeah. I think I mainly think that because I know someone who was they studied marine biology and they ended up touring, like, cross country with the dead, like not even just a leg or something. We're talking like a full tour, and ended up getting a PhD in physical therapy after. It's like
you just
crazy stuff. But yeah,
massage guy on tour. Big massage guy on the tour.
I don't know.
Yeah. They also threw in like a little Box of Rain quote from the guidance counselor at the beginning, which is how he started with the Grateful Dead. Dude. And I was watching and I was like, are they gonna? And they did. I was watching with the fitness instructor and I was like, I stopped her. I was like, wait, that was a Grateful Dead quote. What? Yeah, that is. I was waiting for that. I thought either they can go and not acknowledge it and have it be like a TLC thing from the other guys, where it's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah. Or they can go full on, and they did, and I love that they did it. Yeah. No, absolutely. They were so big on the music too that they couldn't ignore that. No, like you can't just sprinkle that in and say, nah, we're not going to follow through. Yeah. Which so.
although it wasn't a full series, well, it wasn't supposed to be the series finale. We had the arcs close out because it was a season finale. You know, it was gonna do it anyways. So we had Jason Segel. You would assume that he wasn't gonna end up with this girl, but you know, he loves dancing, which I liked. I thought that was great. He kind of found his weird thing. You knew he was this positive guy. There was more to him than the others.
Yeah.
You had,
I think.
Oh, yeah.
I love that he was so into that dance at the end.
Yes, he
good,
killed it.
bad, or not, there's 7 people watching. He was flying.
And he was loved it. He was loving it.
Yeah.
Daniel, he's doing the Dungeons and Dragons thing. You know, I think it would be a really fun game, by the way. I've never played, but I think it would be a ton of fun.
Neither have I. I think it would probably be awesome to play.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, you have Seth Rogen, just he's cool with his girlfriend.
He's there.
You know, he's loving it.
He's doing well. He's doing his thing.
And then Sam ends up being okay. You know, by the end of the season, he's okay. Bill has a little more confidence. He's okay with the gym teacher dating his mom.
Yep.
And we all kind of close out well. And the only crazy thing that happens is Lindsay goes Tours with the Dead. Ripple plays. Dude, also,
ending.
is just talking about like music. The Box
Perfect
of Rain
song.
part, one perfect song is Ripple, absolutely. But it was so long that you realize like it almost feels like the point of this show. The point was for Lindsay to end up touring with the Grateful Dead.
Yeah. And it was all leading to that. I'm sure that they were like, how do we get her on tour with the Dead?
Yeah, it seemed like that was the end goal.
Yeah.
And then, but obviously it was just a season. So that wasn't ultimately the goal. It was just kind of a way out of the season. Thought it was great.
Exactly.
But
I loved it. I mean, overall, incredible one series show. Would we have liked more? Yes. Did we need more? Absolutely not. One season
fair. That's a good way to put it.
Propelled all of these careers. I don't think we would have gotten some of the movies that we know and love now without this having ended when it did. I think it would have changed a lot of things. And in the end, I'm grateful it's here, and I'm grateful that it's one season.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Do you want to run through our top 5 really quick? We'll just list them off.
Yeah, let's do it.
So
All
you
right,
give me yours.
for me, number 1 was Discos and Dragons.
Last one,
number
yeah.
2 was number 11, Looks and Books. Number 3, of course, was Dead Dogs and Gym Teachers. Number 4, Tests and Dead and Breasts. I was saying Dead Dogs again. Number 5 is The Pilot, and the worst by far is We've Got Spirit.
The worst by far. That's fair.
Yeah.
That was the one we were talking about, was the classic big game episode. So my favorite one is actually I'm With the Band, which is, Jason Segel's drumming thing. I really like Jason Segel's character, probably because I relate to him the most. My second one is Discos and Dragons, the last one. We talked about that. The Little Things is my third one, the second last one, because like I said, I think it's such an interesting piece of writing for them to explore this intersex, I think that's the Wikipedia description. Don't come after me. And then 4 is The Pilot, 5 is the Tests and Breasts for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a respectable list. At least there was no We've Got Spirit on there.
Thank you, sir.
My favorite character from the whole entire series is Mr. Weir.
He is very good. Especially it starts out with the first. Also, something that I didn't mention about the script and the pilot is that none of that stuff that he was saying in the beginning, like that something will kill people, that's not in there.
Yeah.
That's all him improving. And it's
That's
hilarious. Awesome. It gets set out right away what kind of person he is.
I think he was a part of Second City too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
these
so
people,
he's like,
I don't know if it was
he's got
Second
a
City, but
background.
Yeah.
In just this stuff.
Oh, he's great. Mine is, well, we mentioned him in passing. Gordon Crisp, our big nice
Crispy
boy.
Kreme.
He is so nice. He had this condition that made him smell, and Sam was his partner, and he was like, do you think that we should tell him? Like, and he flat out says to him, like, look, I know I smell, I have this condition, this is what's up. And then he starts hanging out with them more, and he's just there to just be like some comic relief. He's such a nice guy. He's so positive. I just love him so much.
He was awesome when he came in, and I was like, new character alert when I saw him come in, and then he turned out to be just an awesome guy all around.
Yeah, he did. And I do want to give a shout out to our buddy John. He is one of the most genuine Freaks and Geeks fans that I know. So I texted him before and I was like, hey, do you think there's anything we got to mention? And the one thing that he said unsolicited, I did not tell him who my favorite character was. He said that Gordon is the fedora hat meme guy. So I'm not sure. I didn't look it up at all. I didn't have time to. I cannot confirm, but the fedora meme guy.
Yep.
I think
that's him.
I think that's our boy.
That's our guy, Chris.
I think that's our guy, Crispy.
Okay, well, now we know.
Confirmed.
Now we have to. We're legally obligated to use that at least one time in the future. Now
that is true. Maybe that's how we'll promote the episode. We'll just tweet that out like 4 times.
Honestly, you've spammed me with enough pictures in the past. Maybe put his face on Thanos now instead of.
No.
Oh,
it's
don't give me that idea.
On that body, but.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, it's an abomination.
I might put it in this. If you're watching the video right now, it might have just showed up.
Yeah. I get sent that 70 times a fucking week, and it's just on every social media platform. It'll literally be on my Snapchat. It's
I like
a
to
fucking
spam
message
everyone.
of this Thanos.
Yeah, I like to see what I can do.
I go on Instagram for the first time in 3 hours. Guess what's there? Fucking that face.
Yep. That's very right.
Yeah. Let's jump into facts and close this out. Let's close the series out. Okay, so while writing for Lindsay, there was this issue that Judd and, all the writers were having when they were really getting together and thinking what the issue was. Mm-hmm. So they said basically, I know what the problem is. She's already part of the Freaks when they were writing it. So they're just like, we're just meeting her friends. They said shit's too easy. She's already in there.
Yeah.
So Feig was like, give me tonight. He said, I'm going to my office tonight and I'm going to rewrite this. So he stayed in his office and rewrote the whole thing where Lindsay is now new to the group instead of already being part of the Freaks. They don't really accept her. They're kind of suspicious of her. And Franco's character is kind of ushering her into that world versus her already being a part of that. And just us being, already introduced to this group. I think it's a good tactic to show like she has no idea what's going on. She's trying to find her place versus us just coming in and being like, these are all friends.
Yeah. That adds, a complete layer to this season, the series. Like it almost fundamentally changes it onto what it's about. And obviously that it does fundamentally change it, because if you're going to change the pilot, if you're going to rewrite the script, it's going to be about the important stuff. But it makes it so much better, especially because like you can then, obviously you relate to what you relate to, but I do think that there's something that it makes it easier for most people to relate to her, because it kind of puts her between these two groups. She's not just in on it right away. She's not just like exactly like the Freaks, and then you just have very casted people, like people in casts, people in groups. You have some give and take.
She's a floater.
Yeah.
And she's like trying to find her way, just like all of us were, versus like coming in, being established, everybody having their places, and just saying, all right, proceed from here.
Yeah.
Now we're like, is she a mathlete? Is she going to go back? Do these people actually even like her?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So speaking of writers, though, so a lot of the writers actually ended up making appearances in the show and cameos. So Paul Feig ended up being alongside Gabe Sachs, who is a writer, and composer Michael Andrews, because they were in the band in the episode, my favorite episode, I'm With the Band, as the group Dimensionware. So they were when Jason Segel was drumming really badly, those were all writers and Paul Feig.
That's so great. I didn't know that. I was like, these guys are getting some quips in right here.
Yeah, no, that's because they were all. I know they all had the chops. But another writer, if you remember, at Kim's house when they were like they had that really weird scene when Lindsay was over for dinner. There was this just kid laying there or sleeping or whatever, Chip.
Yeah,
that was writer Mike White. So he's
just tossing them in.
Yeah, just randomly, just so randomly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're keeping with the writers. We're keeping with Feig. We're keeping with all these guys. So Feig actually admitted that he was kind of apprehensive at first for casting Jason Segel, because it wasn't really what he envisioned that character to be. But Judd Apatow was on his side. He convinced him to rewrite it because of how good Jason Segel was in the audition.
Yeah.
So now, at the end of the day, at the end of everything, Feig admits that it was the right move because letting Jason Segel walk away would have been a crime. And I agree.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the way that they cast this is they just went to a crazy amount of people, just like thousands of people to whittle it down. And this is something that Martin Starr actually said in an interview, is that they used to go basically head to head. So they had like these two groups of geeks that were basically like testing against each other at the same time. So there were so many options. And the fact that they were like, no, like he is too good and we need to keep him in and rewrite this character for him, shows his chops.
He's a staple. This guy's a staple.
I'll put you places.
I'll make you famous. Cancel the show, I'll make you famous.
Yeah. So another thing about Paul Feig, very interesting. I think that's a very common question to ask, is where would this have ended up? So like, where do we see this going past the first season? So in an interview in 2012, he said that the second season was basically already set out, like, or at least he had an idea. So obviously Lindsay would have just been with the dead, and he thought that after that she would have been a human rights lawyer after becoming a deadhead. So like that's where he kind of saw her ending up. And then he thought that Sam, her brother, obviously, would have joined the drama club, and Neil would have joined the swing choir in order to help him get through his parents' divorce. And then James Franco's character, so Daniel Desario, would have ended up in jail, and Kim would have been pregnant following the Grateful Dead tour. So someone would have knocked her up, and Daniel would have been in jail. And then Jason Segel, Nick Anopoulos, actually would have ended up in the army. So like not any famous drummer, but ended up in the army because he couldn't keep the C pluses.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean,
tough,
it's
right?
nice to know where everybody ends up, but it's reality. I like how they kept it real.
Exactly.
They brought it all in real. Like, I mean, keeping it true. One thing that they did too to kind of keep it real, but in real life, was that when Segel, we mentioned his disco dancing scene. Mm-hmm. So Paul Feig was talking about kind of Nick's moves. So to do this and choreograph this, they hired the guy who choreographed Saturday Night Fever to come in and teach Jason Segel how to dance. So when he was rehearsing it, they videotaped him. And they were directing it and trying to figure out kind of what the dance was. And Jason Segel told him that the only thing that I ask is to not show me any of the footage of me dancing until we're done, because I want to think that I'm great. And he said that he wants to think that he's great because he thinks that Nick would think he's great. And that's exactly what we saw, was a kid just dancing his heart out and thinking that he's great out there. Yeah.
How about this for everyone? If you have listened to this point in the episode, we love you so much that I want you to email us at sincerelyunqualified@gmail.com, comment on one of our posts, DM us, tweet at us, whatever. Let me know and say, Kevin, do the disco dance. I will reenact as best I can, move for move, his disco dance. I will not look at it, and I will just post, and we'll see what happens.
I'm making a burner account and email.
You have to do it too. God. So if 5 people do it, Winnie will do it too.
All right, fine, deal.
But
we'll get in there.
Yeah, you could tell it was some Saturday Night Fever vibes. I liked that they had that going, and obviously it makes sense that they brought in the guy. Bring in the guy. You bring in the guy. What do? You bring in the guy. Yeah,
I got a guy.
Oh, you got a guy.
I got a
disco
guy.
That's just me.
Disco guy.
The disco guy is just me.
That's why you're gonna be so good at the dance.
Something that I actually did not mention before. I just want to do a top 2, or I guess maybe a top 3 episodes of songs, Kevin's music corner, because this next fact is going to be about music. But I do want to just throw out We've Got Spirit, although it was the worst episode, was definitely the best music episode, because it had Dust in the Wind by Kansas, Keep Yourself Alive by Queens, Everybody Wants Some by Van Halen, Stranglehold by Ted Nugent, then we had some Joan Jett, and then The Song Is Over by The Who. All of those songs are very good. Just very good. And then Dead Dogs and Gym Teachers had a lot of the Who songs. I don't know if people say The Who or Who. I just say Who songs. Because
I agree.
Obviously,
I say the same thing.
Obviously the concert was that episode. And then we already talked about it. Ripple and Box of Rain, you throw it in there. Yeah, I got to give it to you. So actually, I would rank those 1, 2, 3 in terms of songs. Going into the fact, sorry for sidetracking, needed to get it out. Kevin's Music Corner. There it is. You ready? There were over 120 songs featured in the series. So the artist to be featured the most number of episodes was Van Halen. There was actually a lot of Van Halen in the series, but the artist to have the most songs was The Who, mostly because that last episode I mentioned that had the concert. So there were 5 episodes with Van Halen, and there were 9 songs by The Who. And obviously not obviously, but the album to have the most songs in was Van Halen's self-titled album in 1978 with 5.
Some great music.
Great
all
music.
Around.
Absolutely great music.
Incredible. I can't believe they got all of it.
Well, that's another thing, is that they used most of their budget on the music. So they actually had some problems getting this DVD to get released too, because they needed music rights. So in terms of the TV show, they blew most of their budget on the music. And then they needed someone to come in and actually help them get the DVD released, but it was delayed like crazy.
Yeah. And then we had recently, now it's on Hulu for streaming, we had Judd tweet out, thank you for making this whole again.
Yes.
Because when Hulu has it, it's got the full soundtrack again.
Yeah.
It's got its full glory of every song that you're supposed to be hearing, which, like we said before, is another character in the show.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Absolutely. Yeah. Kevin's Music Corner.
Kevin's Music Corner.
It made me so happy.
And that was Kevin's Music Corner.
And that was Kevin's Music Corner.
On set, too. So we had a lot of talent on set, aside from just this musical knowledge. We had so much young talent on set. So when everything was going on, the writers spent time after, shooting and everything, tutoring James Franco on his writing skills, giving some feedback on Jason Segel's improv skills, and Seth Rogen, which is really cool. We may have mentioned this in the Superbad episode. Yeah. But on set of Freaks and Geeks is where he actually wrote Superbad.
Yeah, he was writing that thing for 7 years. It makes sense.
His first screenplay in general was just on set of Freaks and Geeks, which is so cool.
Well, yeah, he was working on it, but he was working on it with Evan Goldberg for 2 years before that too. So yeah, no, that's you had that writing going on. You had writers actually working with James Franco, Jason Segel's improv getting punched up. I mean, the young talent was incredible, especially out of those 3. I mean, those 3 are obviously
oh yeah.
I mean, Linda Cardellini can get thrown in there. Obviously, everyone else too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, for the average person, they're probably the most recognizable, I would say.
And this was Seth Rogen's first acting appearance. This was his debut.
Yeah, it was this
for any acting.
It was his second audition he ever went in.
It's crazy for him to have that kind of out of the gate success.
Yeah, the casting was just incredible. Just incredible. Yeah. Speaking of Linda Cardellini, I just mentioned her. There's a very classic look to her. So there was an episode that when she ended up joining the Mathletes again, she didn't wear her green jacket. And I literally looked to the fitness instructor to my left and I said, I really wish she was wearing her jacket. I miss her jacket. And she actually, it became so such a part of her that she ended up keeping that jacket in real life through that show.
You gotta.
Yeah, you have
That's like
to.
keeping a Super Bowl jersey. You gotta keep the jacket.
Yeah, no, seriously. She would wear. Also, you gotta hope that she was washing it every now and then. Even though jackets, you don't really have to. I don't know, but she wore it a little frequently.
I think that kind of jacket you can wash. that kind of cloth.
It probably got a little musty. She was hanging out with the freaks all the time, but
smoking a lot of cigs, some weed. And she's
little
on tour with
cigs,
the Dead.
a little weed.
It's got such a musk to it.
It's
been on Shakedown. If you're going through Shakedown with that, you're just gonna be some fucking.
You need that wash.
Smells. Good vibes
Some good
only,
smells.
but definitely a wash necessary occasionally.
Oh, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Dude, we need to get to a Dead and Co show like once those happen again.
Absolutely.
I can't wait for that.
I can't wait either.
If you are still listening, wow, thank you so much.
Yeah. Longest, yeah.
We don't know what we're going to do next week because we did not talk about it. Wendy, does anything come to mind when I say it?
No.
Okay. We're not sure yet. We will let people know, but
follow us on social to find out if you're still listening. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. We'll post it somewhere.
Yep. We're not on Facebook, but we can be on Facebook if you need. Just let us know.
That was
Sincerely Unqualified at gmail.com.
Oh, we're both on Clubhouse now too. So we may start
figure that
up
out.
in the future.
We don't know what we're doing with that yet. But
I have no idea. It's talking to speed live.
We like talking. So as you can tell from this very long podcast. Until the next episode, I am Kevin.
I'm Winnie.
We'll see you then.
That's a long one.
That's a long one.